Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. First of all, we all know what happened today in Afghanistan. 13 US troops and dozens of Afghans were killed in bombing attacks outside Kabul's airport. I will briefly talk about my thoughts on this issue after I discuss two China-related topics. One is my exclusive report about how in China getting everyone vaccinated has become an important political task, and what kind of measures are being implemented to achieve this. Then I will talk about a very hot issue in China. Has Xi Jinping found his successor? Will another guy called Wang Yang replace Xi Jinping? Why did this kind of allegation or rumor suddenly become so hot in China? So make sure you stick around till the end. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to or shared my channel yet, please do so now to show your support. If you have any questions during our live streaming, please type in it in the chat box with a question mark, and I will try to respond after I finish talking. Now, let's talk about the exclusive information that my source in China sent me. Show picture 1. Yes, this is the meeting note from the Disease Prevention and Control Commission in Rongchang district of Chongqing City. Chongqing City is the fourth biggest city that is under the direct administration of the central government of China. The other three cities are Beijing, Shanghai, and Tianjin. So you can see from this that Chongqing is a very important city in China. See the little area inside the red circle on the Chinese map, that irregular red area is where Chongqing City is. It has a population of about 32 million people, so it is a very large city. Anyway, this meeting note says that Chongqing City was recently criticized by the CCP's State Council for its low vaccination rate, and the local governments are implementing measures to zero out the non-vaccinated population. According to the note, at a working meeting about COVID-19 vaccination on August 19th, Gao Hongbo, head of the Rongchang district of Chongqing City, said that the head of the Disease Prevention and Control Commission in Chongqing City was openly criticized by the State Council. So now 12 counties and districts, including Rongchang, were directly given vaccination quotas to achieve. Rongchang district must administer 54,000 doses of vaccine within 3 days. Gao said, "Put down all your other jobs. This is a political task." When I heard the word political task, I felt very, very upset. As in CCP's China, whenever something is said to be a political task, that thing will be pushed through without considering any social cost, even human life cost. And so many disasters in China were caused by all sorts of political tasks, such as the Great Leap Forward movement that killed more than 40 million people, the one family, one child policy that forced women to do abortion and killed hundreds of millions of unborn babies. Tanks rolling into Tiananmen in 1989 was also a political task. The persecution of Falun Gong, of Uyghurs in Xinjiang, of people in Hong Kong, etc. All was done in the name of political task. The CCP's party secretary of Rongchang district, Lu Hong, also said at the meeting that having everyone vaccinated is absolutely the #1 priority. Adults who are 18 years older must be vaccinated, while children between 12 and 18 should also be vaccinated. He said, the administrative department of every industry should zero out the non-vaccinated population. So, on the following day of that meeting, on August 20th, Yubei District of Chongqing City issued an official notice ordering the following items. 1. At all public places, governmental personnel will check people's health code as well as vaccination records. Public places include office buildings, factories, residential areas, hotels, restaurants, supermarkets, farmers' markets, hospitals, schools, senior houses, training institutions, detention centers and prisons, tourist attractions, parks, bus and train stations, ports, construction sites, financial institutions such as banks and insurance companies, post office, public transportation systems, etc. Number 2, information of non-vaccinated people will be registered at all those public places and then passed on to that person's local community commission. And the staff members of that local community commission should get those who are not vaccinated before August 31. And number 3, in principle, adults over 18 years old who are not vaccinated will not be allowed to go to major public places. And number 4, non-vaccinated people will not be allowed to attend meetings and trainings of government bodies, companies, and institutions, etc. And number 5, the vaccination rate of each company and organization will be included in their social credit score. Companies, organizations, and individuals will be held legally accountable if new infections happen because of non-vaccination. It didn't say what kind of legal responses will be put on these people, but that is very terrifying, legal responsibility. According to my source in China, all counties and districts in Chongqing City are implementing similar measures, such as Jiangbei District and Banan District. Similar measures are being implemented in other parts of China too. An official notice from Baiyin City, Gansu Province stipulates that starting from August 22nd, all major public places will require people to show their health code as well as vaccine passport. Non-vaccinated people will be denied entry. In Huanglin Town, Guangdong Province, the public are offered a 500 yuan or $77 award for reporting on anyone who is not vaccinated to the authorities. Another source in Heilongjiang Province told me that community workers are now going door to door to register anyone's vaccination information. Also, supermarkets require a vaccine passport to enter, and one must be fully vaccinated. In China, this passport is stored in one's phone, so one needs to have one's phone scanned to enter a supermarket. My source was denied entry 12 days ago and had to go shopping at a small convenience store. But the owners of small convenience stores also need to be fully vaccinated. So, yes, this is a report from Huaibei Daily on August 20th. According to this report, at a meeting about vaccination in Jiangsu Province on August 19th, Tan Weiguo, the mayor of Huaibei City, said that Xi Jinping had set a goal to have 100 million people vaccinated at the end of August and 110 million people at the end of October. So that is the goal for China. This report immediately caused a lot of public attention, as the CCP had always been saying that vaccination is voluntary, so this report has been taken down only hours later. Well, that's basically the situation in China now. When I first shared this on Twitter, someone left a comment saying that as the US is usually only 4 months behind China in terms of pandemic situation and control measures, so we need to really pay attention to what is happening in China. Usually, I don't want to discuss which vaccine is better or whether we should get vaccinated, as I'm not an expert on this. However, this lack of freedom in personal choice is really what worries me. This pandemic has brought us too many losses and challenges. I think everyone needs to think very hard. How much more freedom are we willing to sacrifice in exchange for something that may or may not be reliable or true? Now, let's move to our next topic. Will Xi Jinping be replaced by Wang Yang? In our last show, we talked about Xi Jinping hosting the CCP's 10th meeting of the Central Finance and Economics Commission to discuss how to achieve common prosperity and how to prevent major financial risks. When the news report about that meeting was published, Chinese people were surprised to notice that Wang Yang's name was only after Xi Jinping and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. Now let's briefly introduce who Wang Yang is and why Chinese people were surprised. This is a photo of Wang Yang. He is currently the chairman of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference and one of the 4 vice premiers of China between 2013 and 2018. Please note that the role of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference is mainly doing the so-called united front work for the CCP. The Political Consultative Conference was established even before the CCP took power to show people that the CCP was willing to consult other political parties, to listen to other political parties' opinions, to win their support. After the CCP took power in 1949, it kept the Political Consultative Conference to continue to deceive people, to let people feel that the CCP wanted to form a united front with everyone. But it is all fake, as the CCP never shares its power. Therefore, the chairman of the Political Consultative Conference actually has no real power or any say in CCP's finance and economic policy. So, for the chairman of the Political Consultative Conference, maybe just attending and listening to what others say at the meeting of the Central Finance and Economics Commission was good enough. But what unusual is Wang Yang's name was listed before Wang Huning and Han Zeng, who are both members of the CCP's Politburo Standing Committee. You know, the Politburo Standing Committee is the top-level CCP decision maker and currently has only 7 members. So these 7 members are the ones who have the most power in China. In CCP's previous reports, Wang Yang's name was always after Han Zeng. So, why that was the first unusual thing about Wang Yang? Because you know, in China, whose name appears before who is a very important matter, and you should never get wrong if you are a reporter reporting this. So that could not be a casual mistake by any kind of reporter. So the second unusual thing was, on August 18th, Wang Yang headed a CCP delegation which flew to Lhasa to attend the so-called celebration of the 17th anniversary of the peaceful liberation of Tibet. For the CCP, it was the peaceful liberation of Tibet, but for Tibetan people, it was an occupation by the CCP. What people noticed was, in 2001, it was Hu Jintao who headed the delegation to attend the 50th anniversary. And then in 2011, it was Xi Jinping who attended the 60th anniversary. At the time when Hu Jintao and Xi Jinping attended the events, they were both not the CCP head yet, but attended it as the successor of the CCP head. So this time, when Wang Yang did the same thing, people naturally ask, does this mean that Wang Yang will be the successor of Xi Jinping? Well, tell us, what do you think? Will he? These are the several theories as to why Wang Yang suddenly became more high profile in China. Theory 1. Wang Yang will become the next Chinese premier. The CCP will have its 20th National Congress next year to decide the next batch of leaders for the following 5 years. The current Chinese Premier Li Keqiang will need to retire then, as he will have already served 2 terms, which is the maximum time one can serve. So he will need to go, and Wang Yang will become the new premier. That's the theory 1. Theory 2 is Wang Yang will become the next CCP leader and replace Xi Jinping, as Xi Jinping's enemies within the CCP are very unhappy about him and had sought to replace him at the recent annual CCP secret meeting at Beidaihe. The CCP's top leaders, including those who have retired, usually have an annual secret meeting at a place called Beidaihe, which is only about 160 miles away from Beijing. The most important things about China are debated and decided at this meeting. But the outside world knows nothing about what happened during the meeting and can only guess based on what happened after the meeting. So the theory 3 is Wang Yang won't replace Xi Jinping. The rumor was spread by Xi Jinping's political enemy within the party to undermine him. And the last theory, theory 4, is the most interesting and needs more attention from the US politicians and public. So the theory is Wang Yang won't replace Xi Jinping, but the news of Wang Yang replacing Xi Jinping was spread by Xi Jinping himself to what? Can you guess the purpose? To confuse the US and to give the Biden administration false hope so that it will slow down its pace to fight against the CCP, especially on the CCP virus-related issues, such as investigating the origin of the virus as well as holding the CCP accountable. Why would the rumor of Xi Jinping being replaced confuse the US and give it false hope? Has anyone read a very long report called The Longer Telegram Toward a New American-China Strategy, published in February this year? We all know that back in 1946, US Ambassador George Kennan sent a 8,000-word long telegram to the US from Moscow, detailing his views on the Soviet Union and US policy toward the communist state. Kennan's analysts provide one of the most influential underpinnings for America's Cold War policy of containment. So this longer telegram toward a new American-China strategy was named after Kennan's long telegram. It is indeed much, much longer, as long as 25,000 words in 85 pages. And the main points of the longer telegram are: the US should aim at getting rid of Xi Jinping instead of overturning the CCP, so the relationship between the US and China can go back to the pre-Xi Jinping era, etc. And the number one goal of the US should be getting the elites of the CCP to realize that working with the US under the current world order is in the best interest of the CCP too, so that these elites can work together to get rid of Xi Jinping, etc. So these are the main points. There were some other China experts raising similar suggestions. I'm not sure how many people inside the US government agree with the idea of getting rid of Xi Jinping while keeping the CCP. If there are indeed some politicians thinking so, Xi Jinping might figure, well, let us make the US believe that I'm going to be replaced, so that they will want to wait until the new leader is in power to deal with us. If this really is the case, Xi Jinping can win himself more time to deal with his current challenges both inside and outside of China. Is this theory reasonable? Let's check the timeline of some recent events. On August 5th, CNN reported that US intelligence agencies are digging through a treasure trove of genetic data that could be key to uncovering the origin of the coronavirus. That was when the CCP's Beidaihe meeting had just started. Then, after the Beidaihe meeting finished, Wang Yang got some very obvious boosts in terms of his position inside the CCP. And then, on August 21st, Joe Biden suddenly appointed Nicholas Burns as the new ambassador to China. This position had been empty for 10 months since the last ambassador Terry Bastand left his post and returned to the US last October. Biden had never been in a hurry to appoint a new one. Why suddenly now? Also on August 20th, the CCP suddenly postponed the anti-foreign sanctions law for Hong Kong. We said in our last show that a possible reason was that China's economy was in great trouble. But another possibility could also be that the CCP wanted to show to Biden, look, we've backed down on this issue. How about you also back down on the virus-related issues? Then we know what happened with the much anticipated investigation on the origin of the CCP virus ordered by Biden in May. After 90 days of investigation, it was said that the US side could not draw a conclusion on whether the virus came from Wuhan lab or from nature. And now we have just learned about all the disasters and chaos happening in Afghanistan. 13 US service members and dozens of Afghans were killed in today's attack at the Kabul airport, making today the deadliest hostile day for US troops since August 5th, 2011 helicopter attack. It is also the deadliest attack in more than a decade. And it took Biden over 7 hours to address the terrorist attack in Kabul. What else can we expect? Didn't I say before that whenever the CCP is in a great crisis, something huge will happen somewhere in the world so that everyone rushes to fix that something and has no energy and no time to deal with the CCP? So in conclusion, this is what I want to say. Getting rid of Xi Jinping without getting rid of the CCP is a very dangerous, disastrous, and a stupid idea. The CCP is evil to the core, and no good or relatively better leaders can change it for the better. For the sake of humanity, we need to disintegrate the CCP as soon as possible. Okay, that's all what I want to say for today. Now let's check if there are any questions or comments. So I see a question here saying, is there any way for ordinary Chinese to resist forced vaccine in China? I just saw a report. Actually, somebody in Hunan City have actually submitted an application to hold a march on the street to protest against the forced vaccination in China, but it is not sure. I'm pretty much sure the police will not accept their application for holding a march or parade or protest, because this kind of thing never happens in China. So I guess it is very, very hard given the current control system of the CCP. We talk about how at all public places there were assigned social workers or government personnel to register everyone's information. And in China now, you know what, they have actually divided every area into a so-called of grid. So every grid or a piece of area or a piece of land have a grid manager, or who is responsible for everyone in your grid. So the grid head of that area will go make sure he or she go into your home to make sure that you're vaccinated. When I was in China, one day a community woman actually came to my house and asked me, because at that time everyone was only allowed to have one child. So she asked me, what kind of measures are you adopting to prevent yourself from getting pregnant again? I felt so humiliated and so frustrated about she actually could ask such a private question, but she felt it her political task, it is her job, and she felt it is so righteous for her to do such a task because she works for the government, she works for the party. So at the end of the day, I think it is very, very hard. And also they have the social credit system we talk about. They even will have your company, the whole company's social credit will be affected if one of your employees has not been vaccinated yet. This kind of, I think, method, they've been using it to other groups as well. For example, when I was in the labor camp, for practicing Falun Gong, they ask us to so-called sign a guarantee statement. If I refuse to sign, everyone in the same cell, including non-Falun Gong practitioners, were not allowed to sleep. So everyone hated me, and everyone gave me pressure to make sure I signed that guarantee. So this kind of same measure, the same experience, now it seems they are going to adopt to ordinary Chinese people as well, surrounding this vaccination issue. So that is how hard it is. So there is another question: is Li Keqiang still in the running to replace Xi? I don't quite think that is possible, because Li Keqiang has already, like I said, already have served 2 terms, and after he serves 2 terms, there's no chance for him to stay as a premier. And Xi Jinping, we all know he pushed to have the Constitution of China changed in the last National Congress, so that he could they removed the limitation of how many terms he as the head of the country could stay. So I don't think there is a possibility that Li Keqiang can replace Xi Jinping, although we do know that Li Keqiang often counter or say something different from Xi Jinping, and Xi Jinping has been not very happy with him. But in terms of the control or the power struggle within the party, I think Xi Jinping right now still has the control, and I don't think Li Keqiang will have a chance. So seems we don't have other questions. Oh, Michael W donated $20. Thank you so much, Michael. And oh, there's a question, 54,000 vaccines in a city of 32 million. Do I hear that right? Yes, that 54 vaccines is only for one district called Rongchang, and within 3 days, that's what they have to administer within 3 days. So altogether, the city has a population of 32. I guess they've already done a lot, but still the vaccination rate is not as high as the CCP requires. So they have to push harder to have the rest non-vaccinated people get vaccinated. So that is the number. So do we have any other question? So the last question is from Merlin. What's your take on the CCP-Taliban relationship? Soon turn sour over? Yes, we talked a little bit about the CCP's relationship with Taliban, I think, in our last show. Obviously, CCP leaders met with Taliban leaders on, I think, July 28th, like we told. And I think CCP gave them a lot of experience and instruction to the Taliban about how they could rule. I think at the first news conference of the Taliban, they did talk about we are going to serve the people. So after Chinese people heard that word, serve the people, they all laughed, because that is the term the CCP has been using all the times, and the Chinese people were joking. Now Taliban has found the biggest profitable thing to do, more profitable than selling drugs and selling and killing people, selling weapons. That is serving the people. But of course, I think the CCP of Taliban, because they are both terrorists. So they have. It is. I will never be surprised if they turn sour against each other, because they have their own agenda. They have their own power to take and interest to take. So they learn from each other. They use the same kind of tactics. Actually, the other day there was a very interesting, I think there's a famous singer in Singapore, who is also a Chinese ethnicity. He posted 12 advices to Taliban people about how you can stabilize the situation soon. So 12 suggestions, including ban Facebook, ban Twitter, establish your own propaganda department, ask the people to study your own thoughts. So people all know those are all the measures the CCP is adopting in China now. So after that post was posted, his Weibo account in China was closed by the CCP. So people laughed because the CCP knows these are actually the methods the CCP is using to control China. So that singer was, I think, giving suggestions for the Taliban to learn from the CCP. So we will say, actually, although the CCP appeared to be very happy to celebrate the Taliban's victory in this, but they will all find that the CCP benefited a lot from the America maintaining order at that area. The CCP has doing a lot of projects, including their One Belt, One Road projects in Middle East, because the U.S. was there maintaining the order. Now the U.S. withdrew, and now I think Taliban and Afghanistan could only become a headache for the CCP and Russia very soon, I think. Let's wait and see. So there's another question from Peros. How would someone know if they took the real vaccine and not the placebo, since the pizza package usually says 25 are placebo? I really have no idea. I think especially in China, people said everything can be fake instead of the fake is everything can be fake instead of lies, that lies are truly lies. So that's the irony in China. So Matthew Morgan has a question: when or how will the incarceration, imprisonment of the Uyghurs end? I think the simplest answer is when the CCP is ended. Otherwise, I don't see is there other possibility. Okay, seems we've answered all our questions today. Okay, then thank you very, very much for your participation, and once again, thank you very much to Michael W. So I'll see you on next Monday. Thank you. Bye-bye.